A very good morning to you. Welcome to the morning brief right here on Channels Television. It's a happy holiday to all our Muslim brothers and sisters celebrating today. We appreciate you. We celebrate with you. Thank you for being part of the show despite what you're doing. Thank you. Welcome to the program.
Yes, it's a beautiful feast of sacrifice, a day set aside for festivities, charity, and giving. Happy Eid-el-Kabir to all our Muslim brothers and sisters. We celebrate with you today, and we wish you happy celebrations all the way. Welcome to your perfect morning starter, and we join you, on the program as well. I am Bukola Koka.
And I'm Kayode Okikiolu. We say Barakat Salah in this part of the world. There's going to be lots of prayers, lots of celebrations, lots of sharing, family coming together, sharing with the less privileged as well. So certainly a big day, and we're joining you in the celebration. Huge chunk of the show, of course, is dedicated to celebrating with our Muslim brothers and sisters, mothers, fathers, children, not just in Nigeria, but across the world.
Fantastic, guys. As always, the messages have been coming in from across board.
Yeah.
Because the president has also sent his goodwill message to our Muslim brothers and sisters. I wish I could get to that message, Coyote, where the president spoke about all of this as far as is concerned. But before we get to all of that, what are we doing today on the program?
Well, let's get right into it. This is what the show looks like. Of course, a heavy chunk of the program is dedicated to Eid-el-Kabir, or just Salah, as simply put.
Yeah, exactly.
For those who are looking forward
easy
to visits to eat the meat. We know you. But this is what the show looks like. Muslim faithful around the world are celebrating Eid-el-Kabir today. And we'll be touching base with our correspondent who will be reporting live from the holy city of Mecca. In fact, she's in Mina. She tells us the reason for the festivities, gives us a mood in the city, speaking with people as well, and of course, in tune and in line with this very important day.
That's not all. We'll also be touching base with politics in Lagos and pretty much trying to understand the deeper reasons for the grievances following the outcome of the APC local government chairmanship primaries that was conducted about 3 weeks ago. So we'll be interacting with some politicians from Alimosho local government area, to be precise, as we get an understanding of the reasons for the squabbles and if resolutions have come through following the setting up of that panel by the Lagos APC leadership.
And we will touch on health as well on this very beautiful day, holiday, right here, when we'll be talking about children's health. But in focus will be child obesity, and as well as other things that children deal with. But this is going to be in focus today on the program, where we'll talk about this growing trend that is of concern to a lot of people. So it's going to be a good time for you to listen in if you're a parent, even if you're a child. If you can understand what we're dealing with, it's going to help all of us as far as the conversation about children and their health in general, using this as a focus to build on how we can help our children be healthier and be safer as far as health issues are concerned.
Oh yes, so it's a package that we have for you, this beautiful Eid-el-Kabir celebration. So we're going to plug right into the celebration right away. Let us know, how are you celebrating Eid-el-Kabir today? Are you heading out for prayers, all dressed beautifully, looking gay in that sense? So here's what you'll do. You send us your pictures. Let us know how you are celebrating Eid-el-Kabir. Send it to us on WhatsApp. We want to share your joy, your celebration with the world and with Nigerians. So just take a picture of yourself. If you got your ram ready, take a picture as well. If you're dressed for prayers, take a picture. If you're on prayer ground already, they say, early to bed, early to rise, right? take a picture and send it to the WhatsApp line that you see on your screen.
You know, Kadi, the Eid-el-Kabir celebration is to the Muslims what Christmas is to the Christians. So on celebrations like this for the Muslims, you see a lot of grandeur, you see a lot of color, you see children dressed in their best attire, and there's a lot of joy. Besides that, you know, your Christian friends will be visiting your homes to get a taste of that very delicious fried meat. But there are Muslims who are not celebrating today, and since it's a day of giving, it's just right that, you know, we draw attention to the people of Mokwa town in Niger State. Governor Umar Bago of Niger State has directed that celebrations today should be low-key following that flood disaster that claimed the lives of more than 200 people. Of course, donations have been coming through for the survivors from government, from non-governmental organizations and other public-spirited individuals. But we should remember them on a day like this, and of course extend a hand of fellowship to the people of Mokwa town. And of course today is a day for prayers as well for the Muslims. Remember them even in our prayers.
Fantastic. So it also brings that reality about the state of the economy, which we must not forget. Not everybody can afford. So it's quite striking what you said. For those who can afford to do the festivities in its full glory, please go ahead. But for those who can't afford, the haves should help the have-nots. But it speaks to the state of the economy, and part of the message the president has also put out, where we'll rail out as well as soon as we get it, is to make sure that we help our people the much we can. But it also speaks to a broader issue of government and every player in that space to ensure that the fundamental reason why they were elected is brought to bear, and that is the welfare and security of our citizens wherever they are in and outside our country. I think it's time for us to find out what exactly is going on as we head over to our correspondent, Halima Gayam, who is joining us live from Mecca in Saudi Arabia. Halima, good morning. Good morning, Halima. If you can hear me, good to see you. Maybe you bring us up to speed as to the atmosphere. We see a lot of things happening behind you, but you're on ground, your eyes and ears right there in Mecca. Let's begin with what you're seeing and what you're hearing and how the festivities is being done right there in Saudi Arabia.
Well, our correspondent Halima Gayam there in Mina. We'll come back to you, Halima. You're giving us a feel of the atmosphere, and we can hear it, but we also need to hear it loud and clear. But it's beautiful to see all of the activities there, to see the people on pilgrimage. It's just always beautiful, really, to see, and that's the essence of the day. So Halima, we'll come back to you. There's a lot we need to get from you in terms of how prayers are going, the pilgrimage is going, how Nigerian pilgrims are faring, how upbeat they are after the prayers and all of that. So we'll touch base with Halima very soon. But let's tell you that President Bola Tinubu put out a statement celebrating with Muslims on this very important day. And he had put out a statement yesterday, of course, harping yet again on that message of hope, hope, hope. So let's give you just an excerpt from the president's statement celebrating Eid-el-Kabir. It says that through the journey, although the journey has not been easy and some doubted our direction, the resilience of public and private sector leaders, along with the steadfast support of most Nigerians, is yielding results. The president goes on to say, I assure you that the toughest days are behind us. We are entering a new era of renewed hope and prosperity that we promised 2 years ago. But that's not all. There's more that the president said, Bukola, Jeffrey.
Yeah, the president continues by saying, we may not yet be where we aspire to be, but I urge all Nigerians not to lose hope. Let us hold on to our faith and persevere. Our reforms are gaining traction, with key economic indicators now moving in a positive direction. Soon, all will feel the benefits from President Bola Tinubu. The question is, how soon will those benefits come through? Will it be at the end of the 3rd year or the 4th year? Jeffrey.
For the benefit of full disclosure, not all the economic indicators are in the right direction. So if you look at what macroeconomic indicators are, you know, from GDP to inflation to all of this, and they can trickle down to some of that. So the GDP is not in the right direction.
Inflation
is not in the right direction. So what the presidency touts as the things that are in the right direction is that there's stability in the FX market. The volatility is low, is a bit more stable. It's not as volatile as it used to be. You know, there was a time we got to 19, almost 2000. The FX reserve has also come up. The debt servicing to revenue ratio has also improved, which has given us a bit of reprieve in terms of our wage bill to be able to manage resources at the end of the day. So when they say fundamentals are in the right direction, please, it's not entirely correct, except they mean something I do not know. So but if you have GDP and inflation in that mix of macroeconomic indicators, some are in the right direction, some are not. So it's almost a 50-50 situation. Not to take away what they've done so far, as well as trade balance, which for me is a consequence of devaluation of the naira, but it's in surplus, at least for what the intent is. And I think it's deliberate from the government. I just needed to chip that in so that Nigerians who probe some of these statements will be able to have a clear understanding of what they are saying. So that's my little explanation. Kayode and Bukola.
Well, there you go. Definitely, that will be a major talking point today. Somehow, we just still find a way to touch reality of things amidst, whether you call it celebration, festivities, and all of that. So let's speak with Halima Gayam now, who will bring us all of the atmosphere from Mina in Saudi Arabia. Halima, back to you now. Halima, I hope you can hear me. We saw you earlier on, and of course the atmosphere looking beautiful, very active. So walk us through, just as someone who is right there. Okay, we'll come back to Halima. This is a conversation we must definitely have, but we'll show you what the dailies are reporting in a moment, so stay with us. All right, so let's start off, well, I'm trying to start off with something that shows Eid-el-Kabir. So maybe we'll do the Vanguard newspaper, right? The Vanguard newspaper has it big and bold. Eid-el-Kabir, high cost of transport, foods, dampen celebrations. It's a page 5 read, and you see residents lament high costs, farmers, traders bemoan low sales, passengers deplore hike in transport fares. That's a lot really to chew on in that sense, particularly because this is a festivity that must be observed for Muslim faithful. So you have to sort of find a way to do it within your own means, right? You don't have to go all out to get the RAM. It's been said time and again that you can find other things that are affordable for you, but this just paints a picture of the economic situation which you can't run away from, certainly. So that's a page 5 read. I know some have said it's always like this. The next year is always more expensive than the previous year in that sense. So the price of RAM is never the same, doesn't stay the same over the years. But I think the point here is, it now appears unreachable, or at least the spike is higher, the rate is higher than it used to be. But hey, somehow, as I say, or do you, always find a way.
I think I must commend the resilience of Nigerians. I can tell you for free, even if things are like, it's not acceptable, even if things are like 2,000 naira for a liter of PMS, Nigerians will just find a way, well, just complain. I think if there's a set of people that the government should wake up and be thanking, the president should wake up every morning and be thanking us every day, because day in, day out, Nigerians have been bearing. So as I said, a lot of things are not in the right places, although some things in terms of all those indicators are there. So I just look through again: GDP, inflation, unemployment, interest rate, exchange rate, balance of trade, what's happening in the capital market. These things I've listed. You have an answer as to what direction they are, and the ones that are not doing well. We can add FX reserve and all of that to the mix. So I just must commend Nigerians on this day like this for your resilience, for keeping faith, for whatever reason it is you use to keep faith, whether it's just your generosity to be a patriotic citizen, as all of us should be. But we appeal to the government that a lot is to be done. People are suffering, and the body language sometimes of some of the handlers of the president is almost a piece off. You want to tout the number of the indicators that are in the right direction, and you are silent on the ones that are not in the right direction. And so when we keep repeating that the compounding effect hasn't gotten to the people, looks like we've heard this before, it's a cliche. That's disrespectful. That's insensitive. That should cost you your job, because we hired you. And if we're saying it's paining us, please just keep listening. That's all I have to say. You don't have a choice, because if our reality has changed, now Qaeda has been taken to Band A. Welcome to the club.
Oh, you're on Band A too?
I've been on Band A. I came to Band A before you now.
Oh, so now it's a competition.
Yeah, we're Band A. We're Band A.
You are.
So
you know Bukola is not connected to the national grid. Thankfully so.
Government is not subsidizing me in any shape or form. PMS, I'm not subsidized. Electricity, I'm not subsidized. FX, I'm not subsidized. So I am taking the heat. All of us are taking, anyway.
Absolutely,
well,
guys.
Just to add, Jeffrey, and it's important so that we always give government the full picture. Whether or not all of the macroeconomic indicators are not as bright as the administration will want us to project them to be, the important point to note is that the reforms, unpopular as they are, have kicked in, and the impact is being felt by Nigerians. Yes, indeed, we're commending Nigerians for their consistent resolve through different administrations as things get more difficult, the ability of Nigerians to acclimatize, so to speak. But then again, don't forget that some Nigerians have died of hunger. I'm not talking about the political hunger now. Some are hungry politically, as, defined by their opponents. But some Nigerians have actually died of hunger. Some reported, and many unreported. Some have died as a result of insecurity due to the failure of government agencies to respond, to protect them. And that's a primary responsibility, of government, the need to protect lives and property. So we must, put all of those points through and remind the administration that there is still so much to be done to fulfill the promise, of governance.
Let's get to the Guardian newspaper. Guardian is leading with the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Road. FG to revoke approvals of reclaimed lands along road setbacks. The president, anytime he talks about this reclamation and all of that, he's very stern, because he knows that there will be a proliferation of developers along that corridor. I think it's a very ambitious, big, good project. However, we need clarity, we need honesty and sincerity as far as that project is concerned. There were issues around whether indeed it's up to 30 kilometers. I can say for a fact, I don't think it's up to 30 kilometers that was commissioned, because if you listen to the statement of I think the contractor who was making remarks, he used the word almost 20 in one of the stretches, and he used the word almost 10 in one of the other stretch. So people are saying that some gentleman went and said the one that was said to be 10 is about 6, and the other one is also a shortfall. And it's not as if you can drive straight 30 kilometers. So it's just about 4% of the entire road project. But I know it's all politics as well for the government, because just to show that something is going on, they are working, and something to mark the administration's second year anniversary. Even if it was 10 kilometers, trust me, the president will show up and commission the project. So fact is that the project is there, is going on, but government needs to be honest with us as to what is really exact. There's no assumption. It's road, we can measure. There's no assumption. We can't, it's 750 kilometers, so you can't assume. There's no almost. If it is 10, it is 10. If it's 15, so that's just being clever by half. And again, we need to know the cost per kilometer. Remember when we had Senator Dave Umar here? He had told us, as at the initial projection of 17 trillion, but I think it has come down. And of course, he talked about the fact that it was about 4 billion per kilometer. I don't know how much it is now, but I think they've reduced it from 10 to 6 in terms of the carriage now on each lane, and the dual and the center, the median is going to be railway, and it's an EPC plus F financing model, meaning that the federal government will bring about 30 to 15% of the entire money. High tech will bring the rest. But just sincerity will be good. So, but the president is warning all developers, for whatever reclamation you're doing, if you don't have the express approval of the Surveyor General or so, I've forgotten who said, you're going to be in trouble. So stay clear. If you're buying land around that corridor, please be sure that you're buying land from the right people and from government. Else, whatever property you put up will go down.
And you know, there's also talk about the potential, right, for tolling of a portion of that road once it is completed.
It's not potential, it will be tolled.
Yeah, there are a lot of implications for that Lagos-Calabar coastal road. But let's go to this Nigeria. And this morning, apart from those who are not celebrating in Mecca, the Eid-el-Kabir festivities, some others in Kaduna may also not be celebrating the festivities. Tragedy in Kaduna, mudslide claims 11 lives, mostly children in Kubau local government area. You'll find details on page 2 of this Nigeria, but don't forget that, you know, this report actually took place, the incident took place about 2 days ago in Kubau local government area, and with the Ministry of Disaster Management saying there that, you know, this is more man-made than it is a natural disaster. So it speaks to safety precautions in that particular area where there was some sort of sand dredging going on, and what were children doing there. There's also been directives for a commencement of investigation into that particular incident to find out what exactly happened, because the hole that they were digging sort of collapsed upon them and they were buried. It was a very sad incident. So what were children doing there in the first place? Is it a child labor situation? Answers must be given in order to prevent a reoccurrence of this particular incident in the future. But take a look at that story above the nameplate. Tinubu has courage to take decisions. FCT Minister Wike at OAU Ife lecture. We saw him yesterday, and of course, whenever the FCT Minister has an opportunity to speak, he makes good use of it. So you can catch up on the other things that he said on Channels Television's YouTube channel.
So there you go. That's a look at the dailies. We're back in a moment for our call to action and just to give you a feel of the activities ahead of Eid-el-Kabir. That's in a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back. You should have seen the markets, the roads, in the build-up to Eid-el-Kabir. It was busy, and it got a lot of people asking, where una they see this money in that sense? So this right there is an aerial shot of a Kara market area, outward or inbound Lagos, whichever way you want to look at it. And I mean, look at that traffic. See cars parked just by the market. Why are they there? To purchase rams. So it's just beautiful to see all of the activities. It's usually a lot of frenzy, a lot of, movement of money. Just wanted to give you a sense of what played out. What is still playing out, I must say that the market is actually still...
If our producer can go back to those visuals,
Yeah,
so we'll properly
speak to
contextualize it for you guys. So yes, this is the Kayode has said it like all of us live in Lagos. So this is Lagos. This is the boundary between Lagos and Ogun State.
And Ogun State.
So where you're seeing on your right is where they are selling the ram. So anything you're seeing in white is mostly ram. So you can see cars parked along the right side of the screen where they are buying ram and all kinds of things, cows and all of that. So you can see this is the other end, opposite it. People are buying.
People are parked on the other side, so they'll cross over.
Crossing over. So you can see that huge median with vegetation.
Make no mistake, there are other ram markets in Lagos.
Yeah.
And there are other ram markets even nearby the Lagos Ogun State border at Kara. But the reason people, troop to Kara, I think is because of the reduction, the potential for a slight reduction in the price of what you're going to be getting, as against if you went to the other ram or meat markets in other parts of Lagos and in other parts of Ogun State. Now, this is child's play compared to what the traffic was actually saying in the twilight of yesterday. That's in the evening. People were actually, stuck in the traffic, and they spent hours there. So those who got out of Lagos earlier on were lucky to have escaped the traffic, but it has since changed now, and things are cooler as you pass through this morning. The traffic has reduced significantly.
Because what you just did now is that you have eventually increased the traffic load on us, because now that you said that the ram is cheaper here, people did not know that this place has cheaper ram. Will now find their way.
But that's the truth. Even men, I know that even men cross over to Kara to buy meat, cow meat or ram meat.
I'm just saying that we're already complaining about the traffic. Bukola has gone to
who buy free adverts and resell.
Free advert for Kara market. So now everybody's going to run to Kara.
How else would you know, Jeffrey, that you have a woman on this show?
Exactly. So maybe, Kara, I'm thinking what happened to this other part? Can't the cars park inside rather than on the roadside?
And that's a brilliant point. We need to rethink this market, because it's a major economic
strategic
hub,
market,
and we need to ensure that we give it the best in it.
I like the shop, terms of overlooking Burger.
Oh yes, so you understand. I think there's some land there. We could convert it to parking lot. We could modernize these things. This can be this can be a major revenue earner. Yes. Some work has been done about this, but you know what? Let's pause on this. By the way, don't forget you can send us images how you are celebrating Eid-el-Kabir. The WhatsApp number will be on your screen all through, so send them in. We're going to share them with the world.
Just to add, and it's important to tell us how much you're buying your ram for. For those of you who are able to afford to buy ram this celebration, it's important to get it across to Mr. President. But let's go to the headquarters, the global headquarters of the Eid-al-Adha celebration. Our correspondent Halima Gayam joins us now. Oh, Halima, it's so heartwarming to see you there. So let's jump right into it. How are the festivities coming up in Mina, Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, as you can see, pilgrims are moving about. They are returning from the symbolic stoning of the devil ritual at Jamarat, and so that they'll stay in Mina for the next 3 to 4 days, and they'll continue the stoning and performing other sacrifices, and then they'll stay in prayer for the rest of the day.
Halima.
So after the stoning, they'll make their animal sacrifices, which climaxes the Eid sacrifice, and then after staying here for 3 days, they will go back to Mecca and perform another tawaf, the circumambulation of the Kaaba, and also Sa'i, which is the movement from Safa and Marwa, and that marks the end of Hajj. And so it's a mood of spiritual reflection and devotion and total submission to the will of God. You could see
Amazing, Halima.
moving despite the very intense weather.
And we must talk about that, Halima, because we've been trying to get you, but because of the heat, it is messing up our devices. So talk to us about the temperature there, because some might not understand just seeing the umbrellas and seeing the sun. They might not really understand just how hot it is. So speak to us about the weather conditions and how people are still doing this in spite of the weather or the temperature in this sense now.
So that is, people are still doing those sacrifices despite the hot weather, showing the level of devotion. It's really very hot here, Kayode. It's about 40 degrees. That's why you can see almost everyone with an umbrella, drinking water at every point. It's really very hot. But because of the deep sense of devotion and the significance of the sacrifices, pilgrims are not bothered because it's an obligation on their part. It's the fifth pillar of Islam. So they just have to get going.
Beautiful. I know you've been speaking with people, so perhaps you could just walk us through their mood, some of their expectations, particularly Nigerians, right? Because a lot of people go there as Nigerians, go pray for the country. So maybe speak to us about that as well.
Yesterday we were at Arafat. We were at the plain of Arafat. We were able to speak to some Nigerians, delegation from Plateau State and Sokoto State, and they spoke to us about the day of Arafat, and how much they've been praying for the country and our leaders. Especially the prayers are mostly centered on security, tackling poverty. You can play that. We spoke to two of them, one of them from Sokoto and one of them from Plateau State. The delegations from the state government, leaders, part of the leaders of the delegation from the state government of the two states.
Well, Halima.
Requested from each and every one of them. We have a request from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Today is the Awuf day for any Muslim who is fortunate to be here to request from Allah for whatever need for it to be granted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we have requested particularly for our dear leaders in Nigeria, for our dear country. The issue of the poverty going on, the issue of insecurity. And we have asked our programs to beg Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for whatever it is that we have done, that Allah has inflicted these things on us. We pray that we are forgiven so that the Nigeria that we used to know can come back to the way it was before, so that this insecurity will end and the poverty in the land will reduce, so that people can go about their normal duties every day without struggling to survive with them and their families. So these are some of the things that we have requested from our programs, and we pray for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant our wishes. Number one, I'm a traditional ruler. I'm the one leading these Plateau State programs. If you are not told, will you be able to identify who is the person leading this delegation?
Today is Arafat Day, and we are on Arafat. And the congregation you are seeing here is a congregation of the pilgrims from Sokoto State who have combined together to pray for the country, to pray for the peaceful existence of the country, to pray for all the states of the Federation for peaceful existence. And particularly special prayers are offered for all the leaders leading the country, and that is why we are here.
What message are you sending to Nigerians?
Members of the Nigerian pilgrim or congregation community, if you would like, their, speaking on the direction of their prayers as they, worship and they continue with their experience in Saudi Arabia. Our correspondent Halima Gayam is still very much with us. Halima, just before we release you this morning, we've seen a number of your reports speaking to the effort of the Saudi government to improve the worship experience for pilgrims from all over the world. How has that impacted or improved in the experience of the pilgrims? And you know, you can also share with us yours as a pilgrim.
I think this year there was a lot of ease compared to last year. A lot of infrastructure were put in place to ensure that there is comfort, and then pilgrims exercise their rituals with ease and comfort, from technology across every sector, health, transportation, access to the grand mosques and access to holy sites. There was a lot of ease this year. And then also there was a lot of logistics and amenities provided to ensure that pilgrims performed their holy rites comfortably and safely.
Amazing, and thank you so much, Halima Gayam. We'll keep tabs with you to get more high points of this year's Hajj and Lesser Hajj in Saudi Arabia. And remember the Morning Brief team and indeed all of Channels Television in your prayers.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you very much. Eid Mubarak from I and Adeni. Thank you very much.
Oh yes, Adeni Salahuddin is right behind the camera, also part of the team. Thank you to you as well. It's great to hear from you guys. We'll take a moment now, and when we return, there's an issue that is really shaking the world. It's between the world's richest man and the world's most powerful man. Yes, Elon Musk versus Donald Trump, the president of America. We'll touch on that in a moment, so stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. So let's talk about that fight between the world's most powerful man, Donald Trump, the president of the United States of America, and his once lover, if you will, Elon Musk, the richest man in the world. In fact, I checked in on Forbes today. Elon is $26 billion poorer. That's the way they put it.
But it's still number one.
That kind of poverty is a good one, by the way. Anyway, so background to the story. Elon left Doge a few weeks ago, and then, you know, there was some bill that was sent forth. We talked about it yesterday, the big, beautiful bill that will initiate some tax cuts and also maybe upscale the spending limit of America.
And increase the deficit by 2.5
yes,
trillion.
And then, yes, increase that spending limit, then increase the deficit. So Elon was not happy at all. It looks like this is retrogressive. This is not what we're fighting for. And he tweeted, well, Trump was meeting with the Chancellor of Germany, and then in that conversation, he talked about Elon's statement. He was disappointed with Elon's statement and all of that. But so since then, Elon Musk and Donald Trump, they've been at each other. So let's begin the movie for you. So this is part of what has played out so far. This is Donald Trump tweeting saying,
on his truth
handle, rather. Yes, because somebody was asking, is he fighting Elon on Elon's X?
Nah, he chose to do it on his truth.
So I'm wondering, is Elon also on the truth social media?
No, what Elon does is that he picks the truth, it screenshots.
So he's checking truth,
yes,
as well as responding on X.
So, so check out this one. He said the easiest way to save money in our budget, billions and billions of dollars, let me use Donald Trump's voice, is to terminate Elon's government subsidies and contracts. I was always surprised that Biden didn't do it. Well, let's find out.
But it didn't end there.
It didn't end there.
Right. So Trump, again, put up another post.
And then I would say, Elon was wearing thin. I asked him to leave. I took away his EV mandate that forced everyone to buy electric cars that nobody else wanted. So, see, swipe. That he knew for months I was going to do. And he just went crazy. Now let's open the next chapter. Elon's reply.
Okay, so let's go to X now. And here's what Elon is saying on X. Time to drop the really big bomb. At real Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That is the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT. Now, this reference to the Epstein files is the man who was, investigated for... convicted for trafficking, and he took his own life while in jail. Jeffrey Epstein, I believe.
And not my own, by the way.
No, I said Epstein, Jeffrey. So, well, I believe that this question was put through to Mr. President. That would be President Donald Trump yesterday, but he didn't respond to it. And, Mr. President has also been interviewed in the past, I believe in 2019, about Epstein, and he talked about a relationship with him, and in fact, he applauded the man. But in subsequent interviews after Epstein was investigated and tried, he distanced himself from Epstein. But there is no evidence yet to prove that Donald Trump has any links with Epstein.
Well,
but this is...
He's claiming he's an insider, he knows what. Let's bring in...
No, they parted together. They had, I mean, a lot of people saw them together.
So he's saying he has doubled down, actually, that truth will come out someday, somehow, because each of them is dropping things on each other. So let's bring in our guest, our public affairs analyst, Dayo Akintobi, is joining us virtually. Mr. Akintobi, I'm sure you're looking smiling. I don't know. Me, I'm just enjoying this show where the richest man and the most powerful man are fighting. This is one spectation I love to see. What's your take?
It's interesting to see because they say when two elephants are fighting, it's the grass that gets hurt. As you've rightly noted, one is the most powerful man politically, and the other is the most powerful man economically. And the alliance was a marriage of strange bedfellows to begin with. First of all, they both have very similar personalities. They're both mercurial, irascible, erratic, and to some extent, they both love showboating. So you could see it was inevitable that someday, when their interests no longer aligned, there would be a massive fallout, which is what we are seeing now. I don't think it's surprising because ultimately politics is all about interests. Everything done in politics is all about interests. So in this particular case, Donald Trump's political interests or political agenda doesn't align with Elon's economic ideals, and that's led to this falling out. Primarily, the main cause of this is because of the bill that Trump has put forward. But if we look back in the past, they've had a tumultuous relationship all the way as far back as Donald Trump's first term. If I recall, in 2016, Musk had actually described him as an unfit character. He said he was not fit to rule the country or to run the country because his character was deficient. And that created a spat at that point in time, but some kind of way they made up. And Trump actually had, appointed him to some economic council during his first term. That didn't last because Elon resigned and said, well, he couldn't be a part of an administration that denied climate change. This was when Trump pulled America out of the Paris Accord. Of course, Elon's entire platform, the whole purpose of his making money, or the whole basis of his making money, is this notion of the fact that climate change is having a negative environmental impact. How do we reduce greenhouse gases? So his electric cars are selling on the basis of the fear that greenhouse gases and climate change are having a deleterious effect on our environment that will hurt us down the road. So if Trump is pulling out of the Paris Accord saying climate change is rubbish, it doesn't exist, it's nonsense, that conflicts with Elon's economic agenda. So they had that falling out in the beginning because Elon just resigned from that committee and said he could no longer be a part of any agency, identity, or organization that denies climate change. So that killed their relationship the first time around. And then when in the run-up to this second election, Elon said he's not supporting any candidate, which is standard for any major businessman in a democracy. You don't really openly, publicly support any particular candidate. Reason being, if that candidate loses, the person who wins may hold it against you that, hey, you supported my opponent, and now I'm in power, and all of a sudden all the advantages you are deriving from government may begin to become under scrutiny. So astute businessmen don't wear their political affiliations on their lapel for the world to see. I can't imagine a Dangote in Nigeria openly, or a Tony Elumelu in Nigeria openly supporting any particular candidate. Generally, they either stay aloof or they give money to both campaigns. That way, they cover their bases. But in this particular election, Elon openly, and it happened immediately after the assassination attempt on Trump, he openly threw his lot in with Trump. I remember he offered $1 million a day to Trump supporters in the run-up to the election. He openly supported Trump. And when Trump won, Trump appointed him to this thing of Department of Government Efficiency to cut government spending. And in the process, which is highly unprecedented in almost any government, that an outsider would come to be so influential openly. Elon was fraternizing with the president, sitting in on cabinet meetings, despite the fact that he's not a cabinet member. So, look, what I just see has happened here is that their interests have diverged. They're both headstrong individuals. There's a Chinese saying that two tigers cannot live on one mountaintop. That's what has happened here. They are both powerful tigers in their own rights who basically rule their own spheres. And now their interests have diverged. It's not possible for them to continue working together. The sad thing is all the brickbats that are being thrown, the scuttlebutt about, oh, he was in the Jeffrey Epstein files, Elon did this, Trump did that. I think that's taking it to a bit too low for people who are elder statesmen and role models. I don't think they should go this far.
And you know, Ms. Akitobi, your brief reference, you know, to the comparison between what obtains in our own climb and theirs is quite interesting. How would you find an Elumelu or a Dangote working for the administration and openly supporting the administration? So for a man like Musk, who is the world's richest man, you know, he was saying yesterday that without him, Trump wouldn't have won the election. $288 million is being quoted as the sum that he offered to support Trump's re-election bid into the White House. So working for the administration, what would he be standing to gain? Is it political relevance? And certainly not to be paid. What are your thoughts on this? And in addition to that, really talk to us also about whether or not he knew that Trump was taking out the electric vehicle tax cuts from the budget plan, and that was the reason that he didn't support that bill.
When you have all the money in the world, the only other thing you can begin to seek is power, because this was a lose-lose for Elon all the way. From the moment he got into the administration and started running that Department of Government Efficiency, his economic fortunes have been on the decline. The shares of his company, Tesla, have tanked. His personal wealth has depleted. He wasn't collecting any salary. So you ask yourself, what really did he stand to gain? So, well, ideologically, he's claimed that he's conservative, but he's not necessarily a Republican. But at the end of the day, he also said he aligned with Trump in the belief that there was a lot of wastage in government, and that he, from a patriotic orientation, wanted to contribute his quota to making America great again. He bought into that MAGA ideology, or that MAGA trumpet from Trump, and began to play along those lines. But it affected him negatively in every aspect of the world. So maybe being an egotistic person, maybe he got a trip out of being one heartbeat away from power, from the power center, sitting next to Trump in the Oval Office. I even saw a video of the time when Trump was talking and Elon overtalked him and Trump kept quiet in the Oval Office. Unheard of. How can the President of the United States be speaking? Media is there, and an outsider comes and talks the president and the president keeps quiet. So his power grew to unprecedented levels, and I think that was his ego trip. I think for him it was more psychological, because definitely he took an economic hit, a major one, from his fraternization or flirtation with government at any level. And with regards to your second question, it's kind of interesting to note that when, as a business person, you leave business interests and get too close to government, it never really works out well. I always say, to each his own. Let each person bestride his sector. Trump is the colossus in the political sector. Musk is the colossus in the economic sector. Let us all adhere to our areas of specialization and work to enhance those areas. Let's not start cross-carpeting. That's why I worry about when I see Nollywood actors beginning to try and sing, beginning to try and produce. I think that if you try to be a jack of all trades, you end up being not good at anything. So the area in particular that you specialize in, you should focus on that. And you know, this is not a good thing by any stretch of the imagination.
Certainly.
I think yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Certainly, Mr. Akitobi, pardon me. A lot of people are now saying this marriage is not lasting after all, because it looked like a match made in heaven, as you said. It looked like nothing could come in between them. Trump is speaking, and then Elon speaks, and he keeps quiet. Almost like when the husband is speaking, and the wife comes in, and the husband just respects himself, and the wife takes the day. But certainly, obviously, this is not going to last. I should say that there are those who don't believe this is real. Some people think that maybe these guys are just playing some sort of script. Yes, it sounds a bit ridiculous, sounds like all these conspiracy theories, but you look at it, everybody's downloading the Truth app now, trying to see Trump's posts on Truth. A lot of people are back on X now, trying to see Elon's. I mean, look at all the hits that their posts are getting. But again, Elon is losing a lot of money, stocks tanking and all of that. But I want you to speak to one who maybe would be the winner eventually in all of this. One has economic power, as you said. The other has a political power, the most powerful man versus the world's richest man, right? So who wins eventually, and who loses away from both of them in terms of maybe the economy, politically? Who will be the biggest loser? As you said, when two elephants fight, the grass suffers.
Yes. Well, who is going to win this spot? As it is, as of this moment, Elon is on the back foot because his own interests are suffering. His core constituency is currently in decline, primarily because of what has happened. So I'd give Trump the edge at the moment. But like I said, they're two different spheres completely. Trump can be winning politically, but be losing economically. Elon is losing economically, but he might be gaining politically. But what I've seen, and you talked about conspiracy theories, could this be contrived? I think we pay too much attention to social media in Nigeria. A lot of what we read on social media is speculation, is contrived, it's not grounded in facts, it's speculation, it's conspiracy theory. I think that if we do research into their history, which I mentioned at the beginning of this discussion, that they've had contention in the past that has led to a falling out. So I think and also the psychological analysis I did of their personalities, that goes to show that they're both headstrong people. In any psychological setting whatsoever, when you have two people who are both headstrong, there is a tendency that they will clash from time to time. Also, like I said, when you marry that with what mainstream media is reporting, boy, they've got to be the greatest conspiratorial minds or the greatest Hollywood actors to be contriving this thing. I don't see it as being set up. I don't see it as it being contrived to increase their social media following. If that's what Elon is trying to do, well, it's obviously backfiring, because his at the end of the day, the share price of his companies is down. So no matter how much traffic you get on social media, the place his real money is coming from is currently on the decline. So it's the value of his shares that gives him his wealth. He doesn't have liquid money per se. So if what is happening is reducing the shares, the value of the shares of his company, then it's not really helping his situation. Who is the ultimate loser? I think the American people and by and large the world at large is worse off for this, because I do think that to some extent that notion of reducing government expenditure was a noble one. We've cried about that here in Nigeria as well, that government spending should come down. That it's particularly poignant for me because that is a mantra we have here in Nigeria, that government spending is a big part of our budget and we have a deficit, and we keep asking the common people to tighten their belts and be patient and stuff like that. But government spending is still way overboard, and we say cut government expenditure. So in America, the same thing. But where I think Trump messed up is that he's the champion of cutting government expenditure, yet he went to submit a bill that is so humongous that will now require them to borrow to fund the deficit. And that's what Elon is saying. Elon hit back at him and said, how can you say you want to reduce government spending, yet you allow a lot of pork barrel into the budget? What is pork barrel is what we know in Nigeria as constituency projects. Is what is pushed by your legislators, is what you allow your legislators to put into the budget to mollify or pacify them or give them a role to play. See, politics is the same all over the world, though. America too has constituency projects in their budget. It's not only in Nigeria. So Elon is saying, how would you have allowed so much to be padded into the budget to where your budget is now unrealistically bloated, to where it makes nonsense of all the 100,000 jobs we've cut and all the government spending we've tried to reduce? It makes nonsense of it. Trump, of course, fires back and says, if we remove the subsidies, if we remove the subsidies that Elon's companies are enjoying from government for, reducing greenhouse gases, all his electric initiatives, his SpaceX rockets and all, if we remove the subsidies government is giving him, the budget will fall by almost half. So, I mean, look, this is a very interesting movie playing out, and as we say in Nigeria, let's all grab our popcorn and Coca-Cola and take a seat and watch how it plays out.
Mr. Dayo, we can just keep listening to you. It's quite a brilliant submission you've made there. So, for me, it's just beautiful to see two rich people fighting. Although, when it comes to wealth, one is way more senior than the other. Elon is number one. You have to count over 700 people before you count Trump. But he's the most powerful man in the world. And from the data we're seeing from Forbes, Elon has lost 6% of his wealth, which comes about $27 billion. And they are reporting he has become poorer. I like that kind of poverty.
Jeffrey?
That kind of poverty. So it looks like a situation between two narcissistic, borderline racist megalomaniacs, whether in economic and political sense, falling out on each other. As long as it doesn't affect us, I'm fine, But
by the way, is that a possibility, Mr. Akintobi? Does
it affect us?
Is there any possibility that Africa or Nigeria, because I know that some are reporting from that latest the tax bill might affect payments to Nigeria or something. But do you see any effect on Nigeria whatsoever?
We live in a global village now. Remember, when a butterfly flaps its wings in Singapore, it rains in Namibia. So the world is interconnected, and one thing that happens in one place has a knock-on effect everywhere. So of course, one way or another, it'll affect us, even if it means the idea of building electric battery components, setting up a factory in Nigeria with to make electric batteries, the idea of moving Nigeria closer and closer to reducing emissions and moving in the direction of electric vehicles, one way or another. Okay, and you've also mentioned that they say the new bill reduces aid and things like that to Nigeria and other countries. I don't see how the idea of reducing government spending in America that has now blown up in their faces based on this disagreement will not have an effect, because there's less money based on this budget Trump is pushing, or they say Congress has actually passed it in the middle of the night, is what Elon is saying. there's less money for America to use to devote to both humanitarian and economic causes around the world. That has a knock-on effect on all developing countries, Nigeria included. So we need to continue looking inwards. I've always said it that we need to be less dependent on foreign aid, foreign support, look inwards and try to solve our own problems ourselves. So maybe this will be a kick in the pants to get us more in that direction.
Absolutely, Mr. Akintobi. And when you see that new bill seeks to impose a 3.5% tax on money transfers sent by non-citizens to recipients abroad, our $21 billion remittance may also be at risk here. Well, this is a day of prayers. So we can add that to the prayer points as well, because we rely a lot on remittances.
As a matter of fact, well, we just have to brace up. That's why it's important whenever you're projecting and extrapolating as a government, when you see characters like Donald Trump vying for office, you must factor in. And so that when things happen like this, the shocks are not as heavy as it's supposed to be. Dayo Akintobi is a public affairs analyst joining us virtually. Thank you, sir, as always, for bringing your insight and expertise to the conversation. Thank you, sir.
My pleasure always. Happy Ramadan to all the Muslim faithful and to all Nigerians.
Thank you.
Yeah, fantastic. So, you know, just to remind the world and Nigerians that Donald Trump has not done up to good 6 months. The world is already shaking. So we have 3.5 years to go.
More to go, right?
So let's be ready for more shocks. So it's as good as saying this is protectionism. This is idea of America first, which is great in itself. We also have our own Nigeria first in that sense. We must also promote what we have and do what we can to look inward, because the game has changed entirely because of the action of one man.
Absolutely. We'll take a quick break now, but just before we go, let's tell you that in celebration of Eid-el-Kabir, you can share your celebratory mode pictures with us. Just use the WhatsApp number on your screen and send us your pictures. How are you celebrating Eid-el-Kabir? Are you all dressed up, ready for prayers already? Are you on the prayer ground? Is your ram ready? You can take a selfie with the ram. They are celebrities today, at least for a brief period of time. But the point is we want to share in the celebration and want to share with the world. So send them in and we'll promise to put them up for the world to see. So you see the WhatsApp number on the screen.
And that would be something, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so the WhatsApp number will be scrolling on your screen as many times as possible so that you can be part of that celebration. We will be part of your celebration. I think that's the idea. Let's be part of your celebration. But we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get to the next leg of the conversation. It has to do with politics. We don't want to miss it. Join us again.
Welcome back, and it's time to talk politics. And politics in Lagos, for good reason. It's just a few weeks to the all-important local government elections in Lagos. But the APC local government primaries that took place a few weeks back has led to rancor, disaffection, and protests across the state. Some that were led to the APC secretariat in Ogba, Lagos. Now, there's also been an appeals committee, set up to look into some of the grievances. So let's get into the heart of the conversation now, with a specific focus on Alimosho local government area in Lagos, to find out what exactly is happening, and perhaps it could give us a sense of what has transpired in other local government areas in Lagos. And joining us in our Lagos studio here for this conversation is Honorable Dare Ogunkoya. Is a former secretary to Alimosho local government area. Thank you so much, Honorable Ogunkoya, for coming on the program. Thank you for your patience and your time with us.
Thank you. Good morning.
So as we start off, tell us what exactly transpired during the election, because you gave us an insight that you resigned and you recontested, but you didn't get the ticket. So what happened during the contest, the conduct of the primary in your local government?
Well, good morning once again. The primaries that took place on May 10th, 2025 is nothing but a mother to democracy. Primaries is an indirect primaries, which the delegates are used. For the chairmanship primaries, it was the LGA delegates. And we have 27 in each of the local governments. Now, first of all, everybody was told to come down to ACME, that's the party secretariat, to conduct the primaries. But on getting there that fateful day, because there was a stakeholders meeting prior to that day, and we were told that it's either the aspirant serve as the agent, or you bring in an agent. But on getting there, first of all, the Alimosho delegate, that's the Alimosho Federal Constituency now, on getting there, they were told that there's not going to be primaries for Alimosho. So all the delegates left. That was around 11, 12. So not until around 3:30, there was a message that they should start coming back for the primaries. So all these things got everybody amazed. What is happening? Well, okay, we now went back. On getting there, first of all, the delegates were marched in by the police people into the venue of the primaries. The agents of the candidate, of the aspirants, were not allowed in to the venue where the election was held. So it was only the delegates that were marched in. So immediately you take your vote, you are told to go out of the room, the hall where the primaries was taking place. So invariably, there was nobody monitoring the votes that were casted. And from the delegates, we were told that the box that was used to cast the vote was different from the box that was taken out for counting after like 2 hours. I think you are getting me. So it was 2 different boxes. The boxes taken out was a pre-casted vote, leaving back the actual box that was the vote were casted in. So they now came out, start counting. I am 100% sure I had 13 votes. Out of the 27, 2 were late. So we have 25 left. One other aspirant had 9. The third one has 3. That's 25. But to our surprise, when they were counting, they said I had 0. And the aspirant that had 9 had 23. And the last person had 3. That's 26.
So when you say you're sure you had 13 as against 9 and 2 or so by your calculation,
yes.
But in your own submission, you also said you guys were not allowed in, your agents were not allowed in.
Yes.
How did you know you had 13?
Yes, this is politics. Our delegates, or my delegates, they voted on a table. They wrote the names on a table. So a reasonable number of them can easily know what others wrote.
What do you mean by they wrote? So
the ballot paper.
Mm-hmm.
They gave them a ballot paper. You write the name of your...
were they allowed to come? So let's sequence it.
Yeah.
Were they allowed to come one after the other, or they were all lined up?
No, all lined up. And it was just a long table that was there.
So you could see what the other person is writing.
Exactly.
But you were not there.
That's what I'm saying. I was not there. Even my agent was not allowed in.
So how did you get this feedback that they were lined up and they wrote names?
As I've told you, this is politics. First of all, the result was 26 instead of 25. That alone is enough to nullify that election. I told you we have 25.
So this is I'm having a challenge understanding the discrepancy here.
Okay.
Are you talking based on assumption or based on the fact that delegates reported to you? Because when you use a blanket language like this is politics, it means so many things. What do you mean by this is politics?
The delegate reported to me. Even there was a press conference a day after, that's May 11th, whereby all the delegates openly to the general public that this is whom they want and this is who they voted for.
So you know who supported you out of the delegates,
sure.
And you know those who supported the other candidates as well?
Sure.
What if they're lying to you?
Well, they wouldn't lie. You know the reason? We wrote an appeal, and we were at the appeal venue. At the appeal venue, they only allowed the aspirant, your legal person, and the agent. But those three are not at the venue.
They are not permitted by law to vote?
No. They are not at the venue where the parade took place. Those three, that's the agent. They didn't allow them in, as I've said. Your legal person, they assume it was an external person. Then myself, which I'm not there.
You are not allowed to vote, right?
No.
You can't vote now.
You can't vote. Okay. So that's the three that were allowed to go in for the appeal were not at the venue. But fortunately for me, my legal person is a delegate. So he came in as a legal person. They never knew he's a delegate. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So when we now asked to introduce ourselves, he now said he's a legal person and a delegate. So they were shocked at that point because they know he have an insight to what happened.
Transpired.
Exactly. So he now said, let's assume that all the delegates didn't vote for me. But he is very sure that he voted for me. Where's that one vote? And he scored me 0.
So what was the answer of the appeal committee?
They kept quiet. He said, where is that one vote that he gave me and scored me 0?
Okay, so Honorable Gokaya, another dimension to this local government primary, particularly from Alimosho, is what was known to be a stronghold of former Minister of Interior and former Governor of Osho State, Rauf Aregbesola. But since his exit from the party and the exit of his group, it seems it's no longer, things are no longer the same. He no longer controls the structure. Is that what you believe has happened to the aspirants in much of Alimosho local government area and the surrounding LCDAs? Perhaps the other group wants you guys out.
Yes, let me first of all state this. Alimosho people is 100% in full support of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I think,
including the Aregbe group.
There's nothing as Aregbe group again. Aregbe is gone. You understand? See, everybody has his life and his politics to play. Aregbe is gone. We have Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that's the president, on seat now, and we are 100% loyal to him. Some people are just mischievous. Using that, definitely everybody knows there's a feud between the president and Aregbesola. So they're just trying to use that against some people. Everybody, 98% of politicians in Alimosho formerly belongs to the camp of Aregbesola. And I'm telling you categorically that he's gone. I saw Aregbesola last now, it's about 6 years ago. So how can you now be relating me to somebody that I saw 6 years ago? Yeah, it's all lies. It's all lies. And if they really believe they are on ground, we have Batco mandates. We have Justice Forum. Those are the two main groups in Lagos. But some people now try to form the mandate movement from the Batco mandate. You understand? So those people now are the ones that are spreading the lies and things like that. Even the Batco mandate worked for the Labour group during the presidential election. This is something else.
But I understand that a committee has been set up to reconcile and to fix all of this. Don't you have faith in that committee or in that setup that this will at least resolve some of the issues that you've raised?
The motto of the party is justice, peace, and progress. And I believe, is even to a layman, anywhere you see there is justice, there is going to be peace there. And anywhere there is peace, there's going to be progress. The most important thing is the process. The president has left Lagos not up to 4 years. I see everything falling apart. If the process is right, if it is open, just let's look at the primaries of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. It was done in the open. The votes were casted in the open. The ballots were sorted in the open. It was counted in the open. And Asiwaju was declared in the open. There's no hidden place where ballot boxes were put in. So if the process had been right, there wouldn't be all this.
So you're trying to tell us that if Mr. President was still in Lagos, there would have been some form of stability to the conduct of the primaries?
Yes, because he's a strong Democrat.
But that in itself is what some politicians in Lagos frown on, and even the opposition are saying that the Babasokwe factor is what is responsible for some of the grievances in Lagos politicking, and a reference to the Lagos State Assembly crisis that has just been resolved.
See, in politics, we call something lobbying. Lobbying is totally allowed in politics. In the past, as I've said earlier, this particular primaries is nothing to write home about. In the past, if, for example now, I want you to be the candidate, whether through the back door, I will lobby the delegates. Whether you call it Babasokwe or something else, they will lobby them, and they will still cast the votes. It could be where you want it to be casted, but it will still be open, and they will do the proper counting. But unlike this.
Were you approached at any point in time to step down for anyone so that they could have a consensus, so you refused? That's why they decided to go and conduct the election, and what played out, played out?
No. If you do your background check, Alimosho is someone that is very accessible. I'm the most popular candidate.
That's you?
Yes.
Assessing yourself?
I know. That's why I said you can do the background check.
But we can also talk to people in Alimosho and find out if that is true indeed.
Exactly.
But how long have you spent in office, so to speak? As secretary, former secretary?
This second 2 terms.
You spent 2 terms.
Yes.
Is that also part of the problem? Perhaps the other group is saying, look, they've overdone their time in office, give room for, equal representation in politics. There are other people who are qualified, as it's being referred to in, I believe, in Ikosi-Shere LCDA, where people are protesting the return of certain candidates that have done 2 terms.
We have, this is appointment, it's not an elective position. We have 2 other aspirants. That's making us 3. All of us are past, one is an incumbent, and the other one is also a past political office holder. So I think we are the same. There's no fresh entry there.
But you've somehow been in the corridors of power, whether it's elected or appointed.
My brother, my sister, we have people that since 1999, they are in political office. So far your people want you. Don't let us disenfranchise the people. And this thing is going to have an adverse effect, because the turnout for election is going to be going down. Because when who they want, you didn't give it to them. And in some other local government, it's beyond our imagination, the kind of people. Some people don't even have interest in contesting, but they were marshaled, go and contest there. I won't mention names. But you can find out. People that don't even have, if you want to do something, you have the zeal. You have, what you want to go and do there. But people that doesn't even think of doing that thing and...
So let's look ahead. The elections are coming in next month. Yeah. And if the party refuses to do anything about your appeal, I know that people in Yaba LCDA, for instance, they had even submitted a reappeal. In that sense, they've raised, in fact, from Yaba to Agege to Alimosho, a couple of places where these issues have been raised, and they are raising a reappeal, not even the first appeal. Does this mean that you're not going to work for the APC in the July election?
Well, I'm a party person. If it goes down like that and nothing was done, I will still work for the party. I'm going there to serve the people. You understand? So if they say no, I'll still vote for the party and even mobilize my people to vote for the party.
But that their efforts, of the appeals panel to, sort of resolve this, have they approached you since you submitted your appeal?
No, yes, they were called. And we learned they submitted the report. But nobody has reached out to us. And
so far. And the elections are coming up on the 12th.
Exactly.
All right. We hope that, this will also serve as a reminder to the appeal that those grievances, those disaffections across the 20 local governments and 37 LCDAs in Lagos are still hanging, and the aggrieved need a form of resolution. We must thank you very much for your time and contributions on the program. We've been talking with Honorable Dari Ogunkoya, the former Secretary of Alimosho Local Government and aspirant in the coming local government elections in Lagos. Thank you so much, sir, for your time.
Thank you.
We're not done yet. There's more to come on the program. Stay with us. We'll be right back with the last leg of our conversation.
Welcome back. Just before we get to the last leg of the conversation, when we'll talk to the doctor that his specialty is about children's health, especially that has to do with obesity. Let's bring you some of the things you've been talking about. And this video is part of the remarks of what the president said at the commissioning of the 30-kilometer road, the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Road, when he was admonishing the Honorable Minister for Works, and he told him not to mind the critics. Let's take a listen.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to be here today to commission another landmark project, the Lekki Deep Sea Port, Access Road and the bridges, while also flagging off some of the sections of the Sokoto-Badagry Super Highway and Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway. A few days ago, we commissioned phase 1 of the section of the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway here in Lagos. It's part of our transformational action necessary since we got into the office. I listened to you, David, why? The working, I like the remark of the Minister for the Blue Economy, saying they will always support your rescoping nationwide, where we are seeing the result of rescoping. We are not in pain. We are enjoying. We truly retune and re-engineer our finances to find more money for infrastructure, which is the backbone of any industrialization and economic development and job creation of any nation. We will do it. But I appeal to you, David, don't listen to those critics. They don't know what they're talking about.
All right, so that's President Bola Tinubu talking about some of the critics of the project. You know, this project has been tumultuous in that sense since it was announced, criticizing. Some say it's a great project. If you look at the long-term impact, some critics had to do with prioritization, issues around cost, issues around financing model, issues around transparency in the bidding process. There are gamut of issues. So I'm not sure which the president was trying to address there about critics against the project that he told Dave Umahi, the minister, not to pay attention to because they don't know what they are saying. Well, I'm not sure which. I don't want to make assumptions.
Certainly, there's been a lot of controversies around projects, the coastal highway, but you know, the president was speaking particularly at the Lekki Deep Seaport Access Road Commissioning, and you know, he visited the Dangote refinery. Yeah. So we sort of moved away from the coastal highway conversation more to work being done by the private sector. In fact, Dangote named that road after Tinubu, President Tinubu. So yes, infrastructure is needed a lot, both private and public, and I think this speaks to why there needs to be a very good handshake. In fact, I want it to be a warm hug between the public and private, because working together, they can make great things happen. I mean, you heard the president yesterday calling Dangote, Otedola, Robbie Ovia, 4 wise men, right? And it speaks to just the major role that the private sector would play definitely in improving and growing the economy. We don't want to see what is happening in the United States, right? You get what I mean? Between Elon Musk and President Donald Trump. What we want is a jolly relationship. I don't think we can afford all of that. So I love all the chummy relationship between the president and all of the billionaires in Nigeria. So just to give you a sense of the president's thinking.
But it's also important to mention that while the president is saying, look, they've shunned the critics, but we need accountability. Either it's the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Road project, either it's the Lekki Deep Seaport project, or any other contract in the first place, whether the terms of agreement between the government and the contractor. Questions are being asked time and again about how much per kilometer the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Road project costs. It's simple and it's, you know, given. The government owes the people answers to these critical questions. After all, it's taxpayers' money, and it runs, you know, it strikes deep into the heart of democracy, where if there's no accountability, then we might as well be running, you know, any other type of government apart from a democracy. So accountability is key, Mr. President, you know, apart from the need for focus for the Minister of Works or any other minister in your cabinet.
Absolutely, absolutely. But accountability is key, and he knows. So we can separate when there's sometimes I can clearly tell when the president is speaking as a politician and as a leader, and there's nothing wrong in both. So he has spoken as a politician, it's fine, but he knows that the people must hold the government to account. He's a Democrat, he understands that. Anyway, let's get to the next conversation. Let's bring in our guest. He's a professor of clinical epidemiology and child health from the University of Eastern Finland, joining us virtually from Finland, Dr. Andrew Agbaje. Quite an impressive resume he has. He's been named the first recipient of Fleming Court Award for innovative approaches to childhood obesity, honoring early career physicians who have made exceptional contributions to obesity prevention management. He currently serves in the university I listed. Agbaje's groundbreaking research has shown that waist circumference to height ratio is more accurate predictor of obesity and metabolic diseases than the traditional body mass index. Quite an impressive number, research outcome as far as the world of health and medicine is concerned. Doctor, thank you so much for coming on the program.
you very much for having me.
And I see that your ranking in the global space as far as what you do is concerned is quite high. Just tell us about, for those who don't know you, I just read just an excerpt of who you are. Who is Dr. Agbaje? Because we're here to celebrate you as well.
Well, I'm a Nigerian and I finished my medical training at the University of Benin in Edo State more than a decade ago. And then I moved to Finland and I studied a master's in public health with specialization in epidemiology. Then I had training at the Harvard University in the US, where I studied clinical research. And then I completed a PhD at the University of Portsmouth in the UK. And now I lead my research group at the University of Eastern Finland in Finland. And we try to use sophisticated methods to answer questions, especially in the pediatric population. I think that is my background, and probably as the discussion goes on, I can tell you a few things that I have done so far.
I'm happy about the fact that it has to do with the pediatric environment, as you put it. But one of the things you're quite passionate about, which is why we brought you here, as far as the broader issue of children, is child obesity. Give us a picture of how serious this is and what your discovery is really all about.
Now, child obesity has a spectrum that is dependent upon the population you are looking at. If you go to the United States, you'll be surprised at the statistics of children. Almost 1 in 5 or 1 in 4 appears to have problem with obesity. And of course, you have larger number when you look at the overweight population. Now, all these estimations are based on body mass index, which is the BMI. And the problem with obesity is that it is the single most important non-communicable disease that has the ability to cause so many problems, like the heart, problems in the kidney, problems in the liver, problems in the brain, a problem with fracture, and so on and so forth. So if we address the problem of obesity, we can take care of so many problems of the heart, that what we call cardiovascular disease, problems of the lungs, problems of the kidney. But we have not paid particular attention to obesity. And so we have been using a different measure to assume that we are adequately accounting for what obesity, which is a problem of excess fat, is. Now, for adult population, when you measure with a body mass index, you can easily think that, well, probably you're estimating fat. But for children, it's a little bit different. We have discovered that children have 4 times more muscle mass in their body than they have fat. So when a child stands on a weighing scale, you are not really measuring fat, you are measuring muscle. And so for those kind of kids, you may misdiagnose them, you may misclassify them as being overweight or obese when they are just simply heavy. So the BMI has not been a good tool to estimate obesity. So we do know that the World Health Organization and so many agencies have been prognosticating that obesity is on the rise globally, and that in the nearest future, we're going to have nearly 1 billion people who have the condition called obesity. And of course, the implication will be that many people will have cardiovascular diseases and all the sequelae. So essentially, there is a project that the world appears to be trying to combat obesity as much as possible with every tool. So we have the current release of new drugs, but we can't give many people those drugs. We can't give everybody those drugs. Those drugs are also very expensive. They also have their consequences, as the case may be. We've only used them for a while, so we don't know the long-term effect. So essentially, we are only now left with the possibility of preventing. And the best time to prevent is in childhood. You don't prevent in adulthood. That's secondary prevention. So it is best to prevent in childhood, because the children today are the adults tomorrow. When you save a child from that trajectory of obesity, you have made the country economically viable, because you have preserved many children that would have landed in the hospital because of heart failure from being in the hospital, and they'll be usable to create something strategic, both for the economy, and if it talks about security, as the case may be, they are strong enough to defend the nation. So we have so many benefits if we can catch obesity in the young population and adequately address it.
You know, interesting research outcomes from you, Professor Agbaje. You know, and I was checking through the statistics on obesity in the United States, and it says that 6 to 17 children were obese, and this translates to an estimated 15.1 million children and young adolescents, and the figures are quite close to where the UK is concerned. So in the West, there seems to be a growing concern as far as childhood obesity is concerned. But, you know, in these parts, in Nigeria, to be specific, I thought that the figure was going to be less, but there's a 5 to 12% growing numbers in terms of childhood obesity in Nigeria. Your research for the part of the world where you carried it out on talked about weight to height rather than body mass index. What do you think, from where you stand, could be responsible for that growing concern in these parts as well, Nigeria to be precise?
So essentially what we have discovered is that obesity is driven by diet and it's also driven by sedentariness. We see that the advent of technological tools like tablet, phones, and things like that, and video games appears to keep, and of course social media, appears to keep so many youngsters at home, sitting down, doing nothing. In our study, what we discover is that in childhood, children appear to play around about 6 hours per day. They also sit down for 6 hours per day doing nothing, so it cancels out. By the time they become young adults, by about the age of 24, they sit down sedentary for 9 hours per day and only move around for about 3 hours. Now we see that there's now a difference of 6 hours. Now that difference of 6 hours of extra sedentariness over physical activity is where physiology deviates into pathology. That is where disease process occur. And one of the factors that pulls obesity into this generation is the increase in sedentariness. Then I also say that because of sedentariness, people now begin to attract a kind of diet associated with sedentariness, diet that promotes glucose index, to things that are sweet. So when you are not busy, you just want to put some crackers in your mouth, you want to look for all these confectionaries, pizza, and so on and so forth. So they work in tandem. So you have sedentariness on one side and you have poor diet on the other side. But you know, if we look at for example, in Africa, our fathers that wake up in the morning and trek several kilometers into the forest to go to farm, and when they come back in the evening, they eat a big bowl of maybe a swallow, as the case may be. No matter how strong or how big that plate of food is, because of their labor of the whole day, it just dissipates away the energy. But now, if we have children today and we serve them that kind of food, they have the energy, but they are doing nothing with it. That's a very dangerous trajectory. It will result in obesity. So now we will look at, if we look at the West, that's a problem they're having, but it's not becoming a problem in our own population. We are getting more comfortable. We are having nice phones. Things are getting cheaper. Pizza is getting cheaper. Buns and fries are getting cheaper. And because of that reason, our children are changing their diet. The parents are also too busy jumping up and down because of we have to get some money, as the case may be. And so we give the children junks, Indomies, and all those kind of stuff. They are not sound diet. And the children are sedentary. When we combine all these things together, then we realize that the weight and the height of those kids begins to alter, classically different from what it was 30 years ago. So it is a problem that is rapidly developing and is something that we can address. Because if it's happening to the green tree, that is the western region, then what happens to the dry one? We have to beware.
So beyond some of the work you've done, let's look at the entire spectrum. Let's look at that entire area of pediatrics, as far as children are concerned. Besides obesity that you've done fantastic and innovative work on, What other concerns have you seen, especially for Nigerians? I know you live in Finland, and thank you for coming on the program because I know that you just literally landed, you've been in transit. What are the concerns that you've seen being in Nigeria in terms of children's health in general that we may not be paying attention to that could potentially predispose them to certain kind of risks in the future? And you know what that means for the future.
Yeah, thank you very much. So you have, in the matter of nutrition, there are spectrum. So we try to bring the population to the median aspect of it, which is what we call the normal weight or normal body size or normal body composition. On one extreme is obesity, close to that is overweight. On the other extreme is undernutrition. Now, significantly, many of the infectious diseases that affect children in Africa are largely preventable if they have strong immune system. And the strong immune system is connected to their diet. So they are having a diet that is not adequate. So because of that reason, their immune system is not adequately developed. So there's a lot of starvation. There's a lot of undernutrition. So we need to take care of parents when they are mothers, when they are pregnant, when they give birth to children, and how they feed them. Because a stunted child cannot fight disease. And a stunted child cannot also develop cognitively. The brain cannot develop accurately. So for that reason, on that spectrum, we have more of undernutrition, malnourished children in our population, which we need to take care of, because things like cholera, diarrhea, and all those kind of stuff, they are prevalent because the children do not have sufficient immune system. So undernutrition is something that we need to take care of, not only for the children, but also for the mothers who take care of the kids. Because the mother, is not because she does not have the food, that's why she does not give. I think every mother is very caring about their kids. It's simply because they don't have. And if I think about a situation whereby a child goes to school in the morning, he eats heba, gari, swallow. The child comes back from school, eats gari, soaking water. The child in the night eats apple. Oh, that is not good enough. Because why? The mother, that is the only thing she has. She has to feed the child. So undernutrition, poor diet, lack of vitamins, lack of fruits, lack of vegetables is stunting the growth of these children. And when we don't have adequately fed children, they will not grow well. And when they don't grow well, they can't be productive in the future. So we are losing a generation of intelligent people simply because they are not well fed when they are young. So I will say that those who have the power, the money, and the resources to critically think about helping every woman in every village who cannot afford simple food and ensure that children are well fed, especially in the first 5 years of their life. So undernutrition and starvation should not be one's name amongst us in our population, because you see, we grow our food, we have nice climate. For example, think about where I live. Sometimes in the winter, the temperature is minus 36. Right. You can't grow anything at that time.
Now. As we wind down now, I can't resist the urge to get this one in, Professor. Jeffrey spoke about your a very imposing CV. It's also important to mention that you won the prestigious inaugural American Society of Nutrition Foundation 2025 Fleming Quad Award for innovative approaches to childhood. And I'm wondering, how can we get this egghead back into Nigeria? And what are the significant things really that you observed while you studied abroad, where you did your master's and your PhD?
Well, I understand something, that the people over here, they are not better than us, but they have a better system. They pay so much to ensure that certain things are available. We need that. Our institution need to have certain infrastructure. For example, I was just in Orlando a few days ago in the US, and I was speaking to a professor from Nigeria. He wanted me to be of help. And I said, do you have data? Now I have the skill. I can use data to generate fantastic stories in science. But do you have data? Unfortunately, the answer is no. So how will my skill be usable to you? We can't just be looking at each other's face. So something simple as a computer system, putting everybody's record on a system, somebody can just come and download it as an Excel sheet, and then research begins. This little bit of infrastructure is critically important for us to be able to compete favorably with what is going on here.
My sincere apologies. We really have loved to continue, just to let you keep going and talking. We're super proud of what you're doing, what you've done, and what you will do in the future. The revolution in that sense and the innovativeness that you brought to the field of medicine. And thank you. I understand you're just landing. In fact, you're talking to us from the lounge in Finland. Andrew Agbaje, Professor of Clinical Epidemiology and Child Health, University of Eastern Finland, joining us from around the world, whether it's Germany or but I know you're headed there. But thank you.
Yes,
thank you.
Thank you very much.
We commend you and we appreciate you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Well, very important conversation to have, but let's take a look at what you've been saying as well. Very important day. We ask that you share with us your thoughts and pictures as well. So let's try to take as much as we can. This first one is from Stefan. Stefan tweeting, or sending a message actually from Ibadan. I was going from mail saying, good morning and Barakah de Salah to our Muslim brothers and sisters. The robust economic reforms are symbolic, but needs to reflect in the pocket of various Nigerian citizens. On the state of insecurity in the country, the government of various states need to be proactive in the fight against insecurity, it says.
And this one is from Haruna Alfai. I really enjoyed the Eid-el-Kabir. Surprisingly, my friend who is a Muslim gave me 150,000 naira to purchase a ram for my dad who is a Muslim, but I'm a Christian. Let me use this medium to thank Dr. Isa Ilyasu. That's so kind of you, Dr. Ilyasu. And
this is coming from Kwajafa. He says, Happy Eid. What to remember most about the Eid-el-Kabir is not the ram eating, but to learn about keeping promises. Abraham promised God that if he got a child to show his happiness, he would slaughter the child to him. So we Nigerians should see keeping promises as a virtue and to emulate Abraham. The celebration is first to learn about keeping promises. I like the angle.
Just mention who this sub is for those in government and maybe the people as well. I mean, those in leadership positions across board.
Promise and keep.
Absolutely.
And that's it on the program. The weekend is upon us. Go out there. Have fun, enjoy yourself. We'll see you next week.
Celebratory mood.
I'm Jeffrey Zama.
An ideal way to wrap up the week. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back again next week. I am Bukola Koka.
And I'm Kaido Kikiolu. Once again, happy Eid-el-Kabir, Barakah de Salah. We'll see you where we see you.